Hey everyone, Connie here with a review. Something we don't do too often, and today we will be reviewing A Hat in Time. So, this is a game I got back in January as a birthday present. And it was one I had wanted before that. It was one I was definitely interested in, and initially I was going to play it on stream for all of you. But it ended up being that the CPU usage for it was too high, so I couldn't record it at all. It kept lagging way too much. So I played it on my own with the promise that I would eventually do a review for it after finishing. Well, I have finished the game, and yeah, it was amazing. um, it's probably my current favorite game, but this is a little bit biased because I just finished playing it just the other day, so I'm gonna give it some time and see how much I still enjoy it and everything based on that. I'm going to play through some after story levels and stuff, like mod levels and whatnot, and just see where we go from there. But in the meantime, I do want to discuss this game and why I love it so much. So, A Hat in Time is a collectathon platformer set in this fictionalized version of Earth. You play as an alien girl called Hat Girl, or the girl with the hat, the kid with the hat, stuff like that. It's Hat Kid, by the way, not Hat Girl. Hat Kid, kid with the hat, stuff like that. You're never given like an actual name, but you don't really need it. So you're just traveling through space. You're right above this, again, fictionalized version of Earth at the moment, when this mafia dude tries to enter your ship to collect payment just because you're over Mafia Town. Um, so he tries to get in and ends up breaking the glass, causing this suction into space, naturally. And it ends up suctioning out your timepieces, which are the fuel for the ship. So your goal throughout the game is to go throughout this fictionalized version of Earth and recollect the timepieces so that you can get back to your home. That's the main plot line, but there are a lot of other little plot lines going on throughout the game. Now, you start the game in Mafia Town. It's your first world, because again, it's all the same planet and everything, but you start in Mafia Town, and you meet this girl there, Mustache Girl. There's really no explanation for why she has a mustache or anything, but it's not important. So you meet Mustache Girl, and you find out that she does not like the Mafia for whatever reason. She feels that the Mafia are the bad guys, and understandably so. And she wants them to be defeated and taken out. So at first, you kind of team up with her after helping save her from these Mafia goons, and you work with her to take out the big boss. But she ends up betraying you because she finds out what the timepieces can do, that they can stop and rewind time, which she believes can be used for the sake of basically stopping the Mafia. And again, I get it. I understand her point of view. In her eyes, the Mafia are these really bad guys who have taken over this island, and she wants to stop them. She wants to stop all of their just horrible actions, like beating up old people and whatnot. And so I get where she's coming from. But she goes a little too far with it, and Hat Kid doesn't really care, I guess you could say. Hat Kid's only goal here is to collect the timepieces so she can get back home. Like, she's not really trying to involve herself in the issues of this world. It's not important to her. But either way, Mustache Girl basically declares rivalry against her and says that she's going to collect the timepieces herself. So you become enemies, and you have to continue going throughout these worlds. Now, the game's worlds is one of its biggest strengths. It has so much creativity and uniqueness to its settings. Mafia Town is this big explorable island where you can go around, just communicate and chat with the different Mafia goons and hear them say some of the just funniest things. You can You can complete challenges, find balls of yarn in order to craft new hats. You can collect badges by trading in these little marble things called pawns, which are basically money. That's basically all they are. You collect them throughout the levels and use them as money to buy badges from this creepy looking dude named the Badge Seller. Um, so you go throughout these maps, and each one is different from the last. The first map, as I said, is like this big explorable island. Each level of the map takes you to the same location, but you have a different goal each time. But the second map is actually quite different. You have two main areas. Well, actually three. You have Deadbird Studio, which is this movie studio you get to explore around. Then you have this train in which half of the world's stories take place, and then you have a city in which the other half takes place. It kind of does this branching path. One side you go to the conductor's missions, I guess you could say, to try and craft the perfect movie for him. The other side you go to the city for DJ Grooves and try to get the perfect movie for him. And depending on how well you do on each of these levels, your points will add up for either one, and one of them will win the awards. But you'll find out it's not quite as simple as that in the end, as you have to go back to Deadbird Studio one more time to find out who rigged the awards. It's just so different from Mafia Town, but in a good way. It helps it stand out. Now, the third world is Subcon Forest. And Subcon Forest is my personal favorite because I love horror theming in games, in movies, and TV shows. I just love the idea of games that aren't normally horror themed being made horror themed. Subcon Forest is a little more like Mafia Town, where it's just one big area, but each level takes you to a very specific portion of that area. Like in one level, you go to Queen Vanessa's Manor, which is my favorite level in the game. It takes the spookiness and just scariness up to 11. And it's fantastic, and I love that kind of thing. Plus, Queen Vanessa herself is legitimately frightening. But then there's another one where you go to Subcon Well. And it's just this sort of like extra area within Subcon Forest, where you actually get the hook shot, which is one of my favorite parts of the game, and what made it like top 10 material for me. I love the hook shot and just how it works and how it controls. It so reminds me of Legend of Zelda, which is one of my favorite franchises in all of gaming. So, very good thing. But it's like, it's the same world, but each level is like this different section of it that feels unique in a way. But then you have Alpine Skyline, which is billed as this free roam area. It's this giant map where you get to go to like a few different areas in the map, and each area has its own specific kind of style to it. One of them, like the Twilight Bell, is this kind of otherworldly area. Then there's one that's like this birdhouse, the bird cage or whatever it's called, that is just, it's very classic and focuses a lot on like using the hook shot and going to different heights and stuff with it. Plus there's a lot of birds there, of course. And each area has just this different focus that makes it so unique. The lava cake is great. And you can do it all in any order you want. Now, it's not completely free roam because you do still have a mission. You do still have to get all the timepieces in the area. But it's free roam in the fact that you can do it in any order you want, to any length of time you want. You don't have, you're not like, it's not as like strict pulling you in one direction as some of the other maps are. Outside of those, though, the only other real map is the end. And this is the final area where you finally confront and take on Mustache Girl. There's not really much of anything to this map. It's sort of like a Super Mario Bowser's Castle kind of map. You just have to get through the castle, get to the final boss, and do this grand finale boss battle. It's pretty simple. But throughout the castle, you actually have to use all the different masks and abilities you've gained throughout the throughout the game. And I really like that because it shows um, that these aren't just like one-off things, that you don't just use them for one, maybe two areas and then you're done. No, they actually come into play in the final home stretch of the game, and I really like that. But let's talk about the characters. The characters are what really made this game for me, outside of just the amazing level designs and whatnot. The characters are just so likable. They just have so much personality and, well, character to them. Hat Kid, despite not saying a lot, is very cutesy, but also, I don't want to say aggressive, but she's determined enough to do what she has to do. Like, your first real experience with the Mafia, when you first get to Mafia Town, um, when you're going through, it's like you can talk to them and everything, but then you get to this part where the timepiece landed. This one Mafia goon has it, he's looking over it. You steal his umbrella, shout down with the Mafia, and chase him around beating him with it. And it is the funniest thing ever. Because it's like, this little girl, the Hat Kid, is so adorable and innocent looking, and then she goes and pulls off something like that, and it's just the funniest unexpected thing that you could think of doing with this. And you see with this GIF here that even with this, it seems like, oh, you're just going around giving smooches to all these characters. No, you are beating people up. You're basically killing them. It's kind of implied that whenever they poof, when you hit them enough, you kill them. Um, it's a lot more three-dimensional. But Hat Kid has a lot of personality. And if there's this one part where you can actually dive into a pillow fort using a special power-up, and you can read these journal entries that Hat Kid writes after each level, and they develop her personality even further. She has sass. She has a lot of sass. If you read those. I'm not going to spoil them here, though. But then you have the other side characters who you sort of meet along the way. The Mafia goons themselves are fantastic and hilarious, but you also have the conductor and DJ Grooves from the Battle of the Birds area. You have the Snatcher and his minions, and even the Fox Spirits from Subcon Forest. From Alpine Skyline, you have the Goats, who don't really have too much personality, but they have this presence about them. But you also have these little nomad characters who are just adorable as hell. And then, of course, you have Mustache Girl. Mustache Girl is chock full of personality, voiced excellently by Eily Monty. Eily Monty is a great voice actress, great singer, just awesome personality. I've viewed so many things she's done. But yeah, it's just like she's fantastic as Mustache Girl. She does such a wonderful job. She has so much personality. She's funny. She's over the top. Her Eily Monty like kind of does an exaggerated version of her own British accent to make Mustache Girl's, again, her voice seem way over the top. But it's clearly done on purpose, and it's clearly done in a way that's self-aware about where it's going with it, about how over the top it is. And you even have the badge seller, who's basically just there to give you upgrades and stuff. He has this kind of personality as well. He's kind of creepy and weird, but it's like there are points where he'll just start telling you about himself, like, oh, I'm like glitching out and twitching like this because of all the places I've been. And it's like, okay, you actually have a character? And each area has just a bunch of these characters that just make it feel full. It makes it feel chock full of personality at every turn. The gameplay is great. It really controls well, but there's one issue I will bring up. The camera. The camera, it feels a little too focused at points. Like, it feels like the camera should be able to move around more. When you have the camera badge attached that allows you to take screenshot pictures that'll be sent to your Steam account and stuff, when you have that attached, you can, like, zoom everywhere around, and it's like, I don't want something like that necessarily, but I feel the camera should have more flexibility with how far and how wide it can move. I feel it would help a lot of situations, especially with the time rifts. Uh, just being able to complete them easier. And I'm not saying that I want the game to be too easy, but just sometimes there are certain things that should not be hard that feel like they're a little too hard because of the camera angling messing things up. And talking about time rifts. So time rifts are these little areas during the game you can go to. You find the time rift somewhere in the level, you jump into it, and it takes you to this separate map. And you go through the map. It's kind of like this little platforming puzzle map just to get to the end and get an extra timepiece. It's not necessary. The biggest draw of the time rifts is that after you complete one, you get like this what's it called? This like slot machine style wheels scrolling down, and you get 3 chances to get all kinds of new cool swag. You can get like new music. You can get hat flares, which make your hats look different and stuff. Things like that. And they're really cool to get. It's really cool to try to get new stuff like that. You can get different color schemes to dye your clothes in. It's a great idea. And that's the biggest draw of the time rifts for me. Otherwise, they're not really super important. They're fun to do, and they're a great additional thing to add in, but you can skip them. There's also pink time rifts that that specifically tell the story of certain events. Like there's one in Mafia Town that tells you that if you go through it and collect all of these storybook pages, it'll tell you how the Mafia originally came to the island that became Mafia Town. And stuff like that. And it's like, those ones are more interesting and build upon the lore of the game. They're still not super necessary to playing the rest of the game, but they add something to it. So those ones, I would say, definitely go for those ones. If you don't want to go for the other time rifts as much, definitely go for the pink time rifts. The game's soundtrack is great. Nothing like super phenomenal. Nothing that really stands out compared to some other games. Like, for example, The Evil Within 2 or Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild have much better soundtracks. But Hat in Time soundtrack is great, and it really fits the tone of the game. Each different area has its own like unique sound to it that really helps it stand out and really helps it feel just special. Subcon Forest, again, kind of my favorite there. But yeah, this game is just so creative, so unique, and so fun. Every aspect of it really works in ways that a lot of games like this these days don't. Like, Yooka-Laylee was supposed to be this big return to the collectathon platforming type of game. It was really hyped up, and it kind of ended up being a letdown for most people. Especially considering it was made by people who were behind Banjo-Kazooie, which was so hugely popular, and even is still looked back on favorably today. But Hat in Time did everything right, where Yooka-Laylee did everything wrong. Hat in Time really made this kind of game special again. It made it feel natural with its progression and story. It made it feel unique and exciting because of its characters, its color schemes, and its just uniqueness. And it does so many fun things with it. It's not afraid to do some out-of-the-box things with its plots and its characters, and even some of its levels do some really unique have some really unique ideas. Like one of them is this murder mystery on a train where you have to go and collect clues, and that's so interesting. It's so interesting. And there's another one where you're just walking around town trying to lead this parade while avoiding getting hit by everything and anything, and avoiding falling into the crowd below. And it's like just these little things that make these levels so dynamic really helps lead it to a level above a lot of other games these days. It's just fun. In the end, A Hat in Time is fun. it's a completely different experience from games like Breath of the Wild or Evil Within 2 or mostly anything else that I've played or seen played lately. Because it just it presents things differently. It's not trying to be overly serious, but it's also not trying to be too silly. It's trying to give this. It's not trying to go too deep into a story, but it's also giving you enough story and enough lore to keep you interested in these characters, these areas, and just the general goings on. What this game is really about is just enjoying playing the game. And I think that's what a lot of game companies have been missing out on for a long time. So, Gears for Breakfast, I'm giving Ahead in Time 2 big thumbs up here. This is a true masterpiece of a game that is just something that was really needed in today's gaming society, in today's just general world. It's something that we've been missing for a long time. A game that is just fun. A game that you don't have to think too hard about. A game that you don't have to put endless hours and hours into. A game that you don't have to like spend forever trying to figure out or trying to like dive deep into this really complex story. It's just something you can enjoy playing, and that's all it needed to be. So I can't wait for the DLC that I've heard was coming out to come out later this year, and just to see more of what the modding community can do, because the mods have been fantastic. Different costumes, color schemes, all kinds of stuff. I just really can't wait to see what more that they can do from here on out. But thank you so much for tuning into this review. If you want to play A Hat in Time, it is on Steam now. I believe it's $30, but I might be wrong. I could probably check real quick. Yeah, $30. So pretty cheap compared to a lot of other games these days too. It's on Steam now. It's for $30. I believe you can buy a deluxe edition with an extra soundtrack for maybe $10 more. It's a great game. I would definitely suggest playing it for yourself if you haven't already. And I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Tell me in the comments below what you think of A Hat in Time. What do you think of the extremely creative levels, the really entrancing characters, and the just fun as heck gameplay? What do you think of the adorableness of all of it? What do you think of just how refreshing it is in today's day and age of gaming to have a game like this? Tell me your thoughts on all of that and more in the comments below, and thank you so much once again for tuning in. I'm Connie Royal, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.